is now up, and then I'll just be a minute or so while I'm looking for something to talk about.
Sounds good.
All right.
I'm one of the very few Moiras that heal.
All right, well, we'll take a look at that. All right, so firstly, let's discuss the heal orb here. So, it's going to be a consistent theme that across Moira as a character, her healing, her left click versus right click, her
Mhm.
ultimate, and then also her orbs all function in the same fashion, and you basically use them in the same way, in that you use healing when healing is needed, and when healing is not needed, then you damage, and that's really the functionality. So it's very, I'm just doing a broad overview at the moment. Generally speaking, it's going to vary game to game, depending on the map, depending on characters, on what they're running, what you're running. But really, generally speaking, you're going to be about 50-50 in terms of time spent on healing and damage. That's not always going to be 50-50 in terms of raw stats, but it's about that in terms of time spent. So we'll keep an eye out that. So what I want to focus on here is the orb usage. So orb usage can be, you can use heal orb for a variety of functions. You can use it if a teammate needs burst healing, because it gives you an extra source of healing, so you can heal them like twice as fast. You can use it for healing someone who's outside of your range. You can use it if you're out of resource. You can use it if you need burst healing yourself, like if you're in danger. You can use it to heal big groups of people, that sort of thing. You can use it in between fights when you're trying to conserve your healing. But really, you don't want to be using it when none of the above apply. Then you want to be
Mhm.
chucking in damage orbs. So if we're looking at the orb on our left here, when we're throwing it at a full HP diva who's also purple, well, then that orb is probably just going to bounce off into the wall and then off into oblivion.
Yeah.
So just got to be careful that we're not wasting our orbs. Keep an eye on those. But that's just the first thing of note, is just making sure we're orbing in the right circumstances. Okay. Accidentally fading a little too far. Maybe go over that in a minute, but if just tapping it rather than just like holding the hard backspace can help out.
Receive my aid. For the parched. Eyes open now. Be nourished.
Self-destruct sequence.
I've got you on my sights.
For the parched.
All right. So, in keeping that same topic that we were discussing, let's go back a minute. Like right around here. So we want to make sure that anytime healing's not needed, that we're going for damage. And then
Mhm.
also another topic to add in here is overhealing. So overhealing is just anytime we're healing when people are already full HP or very, very close to full HP. And that could be seen like in the orb that we used before. This can also be seen here, like when these guys are both full HP and we're on the heals here, right? Everyone's full HP and we're still tapping, and then we toss the heal orb in there when, once again, looking at people's health bars, pretty much everybody is full over there.
Mhm.
Take it in and think to yourself, okay, is someone being down 50, 100 HP for tanks, right? Not 100 HP is a little bit different on a squishy, but is them being down this HP really that pressing when there's other things that you could be doing of more value? Is there something more that you could be doing of value, such as damaging, such as healing somebody, looking around and trying to heal someone who needs it? On other characters, you can reload. You could be looking to use abilities. You can be just preserving the healing and not wasting it, as well as if you're swapping the damage, that it's kind of a twofold effect where you are on one end, you're not wasting as much. But also, if you're damaging more, that means that you're getting more resource back, so it's better resource management as well. So it's just something to keep an eye out for, is just making sure that we're watching health bars and not healing people when they're full HP, which can save us time, get us more damage in, and help us manage our resource meter a bit better as well. And then we do a bit more of the, like here as well, we should maybe, like for example, this next orb, we should maybe just be chucking it up like on the high ground with a damage orb, something like that.
Mhm.
I haven't noticed any damage orbs being thrown yet. So we throw another heal orb here in a moment. Think like right here,
For the parch.
where that one's okay, but at the same time you have to think that, okay, well, maybe we could be just doing the exact same thing with like our normal healing, and
Mhm.
then in that function, when we are chucking in damage orbs, especially when we're like in between fights, it can act as a really good source of ult charge, which just gets us more ultimates faster. So right now I'm just chucking in a lot of different like just broad info like on
Yeah.
on
So
all
in
that.
this situation, with the other soldier ulting, would I still not throw the healing orb out?
So you can
Gotcha.
the more the idea is that you don't really know who he's looking at, and at the time of us
Mhm.
throwing it, at the time of us throwing it, I don't really know if there's not really anybody in particular who is needing it. Now, when we do throw
For
it,
the
Um,
there's
parch.
Mercy, and then at that point, we can probably just normally heal up
Gotcha.
Mercy. So honestly, that one's not as bad. Like it's
mhm.
you could you could do it either way with the healing or
Yeah.
damage. I'm just more so like throwing out examples. And yeah, we'll maybe we'll keep an eye on it. But you are correct. This instance isn't like that atrocious. Honestly, it's even like now, like for example, now we could be chucking it in even before he's ulting, like when we have it off cooldown, that sort of idea.
Mhm.
But does that all the concepts making sense so far? Any questions on any of them?
Yeah, it is. Makes sense.
All right.
I've got you in my sights.
For the parched. We must ensure the payload progress.
Yeah, that one's good because we're trying to burst Steel Diva up.
Surrender to my will.
All right. So we are going to rewind here for a second, and we're going to look at this. Make sure that you're trying to rotate around your teammates so that we can try to get as many people in our ult as possible. So here, if we're trying to heal up Diva, a lot of times you can kind of anchor on the person you're trying to heal up and just kind of rotate around them. So we could be
Mhm.
both healing the Diva. If we just move towards the Diva, we can both be healing and trying to damage their team at the same time. Is definitely something we could be doing here. Whereas what we do is we kind of stand still and let Diva walk to us, which just means that we really only do like single target healing, and then Reinhardt charges in, and now we're getting some more damage in, which is good. Yeah. So then also this noting that this right here is out of range.
Yeah.
Not anything major. But like when we swap up here to these guys, for some reason it's not actually showing up. Why? It looks like it's invisible. Oh, there we go. When we swap it up, that's actually, these guys are right outside of the range of it.
Mhm.
Distance on it. Nothing major though. Okay. I also want to make sure I'm giving you guys sufficient time. Like what? Let's see. We have 2 hours. That's about, and then if we get time to like do a review for each of you, about like 30 minutes each, I guess, and then do make sure we're getting a review in for each. Go over the main points.
Mhm.
All right, sounds good.
All right.
Need a moment to recharge.
Okay. If you ever have to throw heal orbs, I look to bounce your orbs off of things. So if you can bounce an orb off of 2 surfaces, so let's say we have like a doorway, or even here, right, like where we can bounce it off this wall and then have it come back this way, then you can kind of lock it in place and keep it coming back and forth, and it'll stay there for its entire duration. And then if you don't have 2 walls, 1 wall will do where it will stay with you longer, rather than if you just toss it straight forwards, because then it'll just kind of keep traveling in one direction.
Okay.
Allow it to stick with you longer. Okay, good heal orb there. Though, if we're like once again coming back here, we could maybe, let's see, maybe just like on these in between portions, be chucking in damage orbs. I'm sure. Do we that one here? No, we used healing. Oh, there it's fine because we're out of resource. Right now we're just kind of waiting on the resource back. So that's actually I'm changing my mind on that one. We're just out of resource at the moment. Okay.
You will be renewed.
When we're low on resource, maybe just let the orbs do its work, because we're kind of wasting what little we have, when we may want to just let the orb do a lot of the healing, or other support. Let the other support do the healing. Oh, all right.
Got to the orb.
Yep.
Yeah.
So here, firstly, we stray very far out into the open, so this is going to be cover usage primarily. We're a little bit delayed on the Wraith, trying to get away. That can probably help us. The Fade, using Fade a bit faster here can get us away from damage quicker, and then using cover as well. Another idea would be request healing when you're low, when you're taking damage. Even as a support, that'll get your other support to look at you faster, so it'll get you healing faster. And then all of that kind of combo together can help keep us alive in this scenario. Okay, at this point, we're just regrouping. Okay. Maybe you'll need a touch here. Uh-oh. We'll go over some few like techie things here in a moment. One thing that doesn't really, I guess, need too much explanation on how to do it for tech is anytime you ever using coalescence, throw an orb before you do.
Yeah.
It's a 8-second cooldown, and your coalesce 8 seconds as well, so it's basically just getting a whole extra cooldown in there. Throw whatever your main purpose for the ult is, throw that orb. So here, when we're coming in with coalescence and the only people in front of us is, people to damage, then we're chucking in the damage orb, and that will help us burst people down quicker, and maybe lend an extra a kill in there. Maybe in this scenario we could throw heal orb if we're trying to just sustain on cart, but maybe throwing the damage orb might help us get some kills, which could flip the fight. So that would be recommendation here, is just throwing orbs with coalescence. Once again, try to line people up, because we're kind of sticking solo on the soldier here, so we can rewind once again. So if we are rotating just a bit to the side, now we get 2. Or, we look this way, now we got 2. We move over to the side, now we got 2. So just look to line people up, so we're getting as many people as possible. But I do like that we are trying to stick with one person and not kind of just swapping all over. We're staying on top of the soldier. Okay, good job getting the Ana there. Okay, once you have other people on cart, maybe look to start backing off to the side a hair. Also might recommend against trying to run at a Reinhardt. Trying to stay off to the side might be a better idea. At this point, honestly, it's not looking so hot for the fight in general, but those are some thoughts. All right. Okay, let's keep going. Oh, we're still fighting this out. This is a stalled fight. Okay, interesting.
Yes.
watching the heal orb again, right? Like watch everybody's HPs when we toss us in full HP, and then therefore it just kind of bounces off and then goes nowhere. Okay, let's talk target priority real quick. So target priority, this is something that is probably important for. Let's see, what did you play again, Boris?
Tank.
Playing tank. Okay, so this is important for you
Yeah.
too. Maybe it's not something you struggle with, but just pay attention in case it is.
Oh, yeah.
See. We'll see when it comes around to it. But target priority, right? Who should you be looking at? Who should you be shooting at? General rule for target priority, to keep it really simple: easiest targets are the best targets. Whatever will die the quickest are the things that you will actually get value out of shooting at. And therefore, the hardest targets to shoot at, you probably don't want to be looking at too much. And what are the hardest targets to shoot at? Well, generally speaking, tanks are. Tanks are designed to be the hardest targets to shoot at, having 2 to 3 times the health of other characters, having armor, shields, tanking abilities, having having very big, easy to heal hitboxes, things like that. Therefore, probably don't want to be shooting at them too much. So that's not to say you never shoot at tanks or the hard things to shoot at. You do look at them if they're low, out of position, if they're the only thing you can look at, like let's say they're in your face or they're the only one left alive, go for it. But in another case where you have kind of equal opportunity. So when we're walking into the fight, and we've seen this like maybe in a couple situations where there's a Moira and a Reinhardt kind of standing like right next to each other, right? Moira's to the left, Reinhardt's to the right. And we choose to shoot at Reinhardt. That's just not great target priority because Moira would die much quicker. And we've seen this in a couple different scenarios. Where Reinhardt's, we kind of only been shooting at Reinhardt outside of coalescences. You've been good with those. You've kind of run past Ryan and shot at other people. But outside of coalescence, a lot of our just normal right clicks are going on the Reinhardt. And this is bad, especially on Moira, where Moira as a character does very low damage but easy, consistent damage output. Right, so you're not going to be bursting anything down anytime fast, which is just not great in terms of tank busting. But you will be able to finish off people who are low, out of position. You will be able to finish off squishy targets if you chuck in a damage orb at them. So I would just make sure you're looking at the easy targets to shoot at, not the hard ones. And then even among DPS and supports, there's easier and harder DPS and supports to shoot at. Does all that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, it does.
So even here, swapping over to Moira after you see her. Okay, we tap him up. Good job. Make sure we're just staying out of Reinhardt's range. Good heal orb there. Everyone's low. Once again, like when we're about to cap point, where's the one place the enemy team needs to go?
2 point.
2 point. Okay, so therefore, what's the most dangerous place on the map at that point in time?
On point.
On point. So where should maybe you not be directly standing?
On point.
On point. So rather than standing directly on point, just give it a bit of space, right? Like doing something like this can be very beneficial. Just standing a bit off to the side, or if we're avoid widow line of sights, something like this where we're just we're not directly on top of point, which just means that we're a little bit out of the fray. You also notice that gives us a bit better visibility on what's going on as well. When we're not on point, we're able to take in a bit more of our surroundings. Yeah, good heal orb. At that point, we need it. But definitely just want to really, you'd only ever want to step onto point if it's like a last resort in this situation.
Okay.
Okay.
Receive my aid.
Okay. You have a bunch of other people on point. Don't be afraid to just fade up and over. D.Va's trying to get away. From this angle, I don't think we can. I don't know if we know that she's purpled or not. But definitely could have been helping out. The other thing to keep in mind for like both of you is that you only ever really need to have one person on card at a time, unless you. The only situation in which you would need more is if you're really close to capping and you think you can cap before they can touch.
Okay.
Alive. Make sure we're just not like sticking the cart when we don't need to. Okay, tossing in damage orbs at this point, just getting some extra damage in, and then contesting probably just want to group up. Yep, there you go.
Big stanger lat. Your strength becomes muscle. Surrender to my will.
Okay. So once again, kind of notice how we're coming into the fight, and then the first target we're kind of locking on is Reinhardt.
Yeah.
Throwing in an orb before we're coalescing, but this is pretty good cold timing. I like that we're not holding on to our ults, and you have been using them at pretty decent timings as well. Make sure that you're not kind of sprinting into the Reinhardt once again. Make sure you're respecting his range, because he only has like a I think a 3-4 meter range on a swing. Just make sure we're not running within that so that he's not able to damage us for free. Our Cole has a long range on it, so just stay off to the right a bit more. Come up around this side, and that way we can still be damaging those guys without having Reinhardt swinging on top of us. And then that's a little bit unfortunate that we get shattered. Good fade. Good orb. Okay.
Probably could have delayed that a little bit.
Yeah, just watching. I think she was purple, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Kind of once again, Reinhardt's like the only thing we're shooting at. Okay, so let's start to like wrap up a hair here. Let's go over positioning really quickly. This is something that once again it's a very universal thing. So this is something that's come into play like a couple times. I wouldn't say it was like the worst of the worst, but still important to kind of get down. So if we are positioning and we're standing right over here and the enemy team is standing over there, then if let's say we don't got fade, right, we just use that, or we don't want to use it, it's going to take us 1, 2, 3 seconds to get around the corner, right? And if we're all the way over here and it took us this long to get there, we pretty much died in that meanwhile. Whereas if we have cover, well, you can't shoot through solid objects. We're perfectly safe, and we can do a lot of the same stuff from here. And therefore, this position is going to be a lot better. We can duck behind it in pretty much half a second, which is 6 times faster than what it just took us previously. Therefore, good positioning is the usage of cover, whereas bad positioning is the absence of cover. So make sure we're looking to stay near to cover. There's that one time in particular where we were out in the open when Soldier visored us that got us a lot of damage on us. Also, when we were on cart, when Widowmaker's just kind of raining from above us, that was another time where we probably could have used a bit more cover. And then the other maybe like here and there things, but don't stray too far away. Cover's all over the place. You can use slopes like so. You use random pillars around the map, and you're reloading on certain characters, being ulted and people using abilities against you. Corners do the same thing. Random objects lying around. Pillar, corner, doorway, corner, doorway. It's all over the place, so you just look to utilize it. And therefore, you'll take a lot less damage and die less. So all that makes sense? Any questions on it?
Yeah, it definitely makes sense.
Gotcha. Hey, how's it going? Is Prodigy here now? CB?
Yes. What's up, buddy?
Yeah, it's going pretty good. At what point did you end up joining here? I don't think I got the ping message.
I joined at towards the beginning when
Towards the beginning.
whenever
Oh.
yeah, just whenever you gone over like okay, each person like 30 minutes, you know.
Gotcha. All right. Sounds good. So we'll start to go a bit over the review now for you. Like, what do I think are the main points? What do you need to work on? That sort of thing. Abilities. Let's see. Fade, not too shabby. I don't think there's too many issues with Fade.
There
Orbs.
was one I went too far.
Yeah,
I didn't know you could just tap it.
Yeah.
I was
So
just
if
holding it this time.
Yeah. You can. There's a lot of control you can have with your fade. So if we start here and we just normally fade forwards, we go to about here, right? So that's 15 meters, right? If you add in a jump and we just hold W, usually you want to jump at the very end if you want max distance. So let's jump at the very end. We can actually extend that much further. I get about like 27 meters out of that. So much further distance on it. If we wanted to go nowhere, we could go nowhere by just not moving. If I wanted to go 2 inches, I can go 2 inches just by tapping it. Same thing backwards. It's the same exact thing backwards as well. You can even add in curves in it too. I can go backwards and to the left, or that's to the right, backwards and to the right. So you can add in movement with it. So you do have a lot of control over it. So it's just something to practice at. Looking to just not if we're trying to back away, you don't always need to go like all the way back, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Other important thing, I guess is like ranges. Your range on your right click is 20 meters. I noticed a lot of times you wouldn't be within that range on enemies. So of course don't like sprint into 4 people by yourself if it means getting within this range. But whenever possible, you want to be within this range for easy access to damage to keep your resource up. But then also anytime you're not healing to be able to damage. Your left click range is 15 meters, I think. Yeah, so once you step outside of that, then we're not actually healing at all. So you want to make sure you're within that 15-meter range on people, which is right here from teammates. All right, so yeah, fade, honestly not too shabby. Orbs, just the main thing, and this is going to be pretty consistent across all of your kit. Orbs, make sure that we're just damaging whenever healing's not needed, so I'd probably chuck in a few more damage orbs. I don't think it was too bad with the quantity of like heal orbs to damage orbs, but I'd probably throw in more damage orbs when healing's not needed. But then probably the bigger thing was that we just throw a lot of healing orbs when they weren't needed at all. Like there would be people who are full HP. We could throw it at someone who's antied. We just kind of chuck it in off a cooldown when we want to be a bit more intentional behind it. If we are, that was an interesting skip. I didn't know I could do that.
It was good.
That was actually really weird because you can't make this jump up there. Okay. So orbs, yeah, just be careful about chucking them in off cooldown. Be intentional behind it. Think through like, is this orb actually gonna do anything? If healing is not needed, then just chuck in the damage. It's gonna get you, a lot more ult charge off that. Each damage orb, if it gets like its full ticks in, it's gonna be about like, if it's getting its full ticks in, I think it's like 9 or so. Yeah, so we get 6, then they moved out of the way. And I think it's about 9 or something along those lines. So that's just, good ult charge. Now, beyond that, so overall, I'm going a little slow here. I'm going to start speed it up. Overall, ability usage, about like a lower end of medium, maybe even lower than that, priority for you to work on. Then comes ult usage. Ult usage, honestly, not too bad. Throw in your orb before you ult. Then besides that, don't like sprint into the Reinhardt. And other than that, the timing was good. Your target priority is good. Other thing is just make sure that you are trying to get multiple people lined up into it, right? Anchor a teammate if you need to. Just whoever needs healing, anchor them and just walk around them like this. And
Okay.
try to just get as many people lined up as possible for max value. Other than that, it was pretty solid. So that one probably goes a bit even lower than the abilities, or maybe like minorly around the same, but kind of on that low to medium end. Then comes your mechanics is just gonna be like your left click and your right click usage. Honestly, I'd say I said at the start, you want it to be about like 50-50, and I'd say you're maybe leaning a bit more towards healing than would be beneficial. So I'd say you're maybe about like 65 on the healing end of things, and I would just say that it's not there's a lot of scenarios where we're just healing when it's not needed, or we're not damaging when it could be valuable. So just keep your eye out for that, and don't overheal. So don't heal when people don't need it. Watch for that.
Mhm.
Make sure that when we're looking for damage, that we're looking for valuable damage. That we're not just kind of farming the Reinhardt, but we're looking for the squishies, trying to get actual elims. Because as Moira, you can farm up squishies decently easily. You can get a lot of kills and value. If we're properly balancing this as well, we're going to be able to farm up more ult charges as well, because we're going to be able to get in more damage when healing wasn't even needed in the first place. So we're going to get more ult charge and more damage and more elims. Overall, it's just going to be all around better. So watch for when people don't need healing, and when they don't need
Mhm.
healing, then damage comes as that aftermath as that result, and it's going to be a bit, just a tad bit more. Maybe ramp it up like 15-20% more on the damage end, and vice versa on the healing end.
Gotcha. That was probably
Yeah.
the worst game for damage because that was my biggest healing game ever.
Gotcha. Yeah, which is all good. It'll be different from game to game. Just looking to keep it
Yeah,
consistent.
I see
Overall,
what you mean though.
yeah. Overall, that one is probably one of the bigger things. That's gonna be about a. If you say it's not like doesn't come up as much, then it's not as big of a thing. But I probably say that during that game, that was probably like higher end of medium, maybe like lower end of medium high, something like that. Then it comes your positioning. Just make sure he's in cover. Stick within range. Your ranges of healing teammates. Sometimes we'd kind of step outside of our range of healing teammates, and then we wouldn't be able to see them or reach them. Then sometimes make sure that you're sticking within your damage range. Oftentimes they weren't within that range, so we wouldn't be able to damage even if we wanted to. Then besides that's pretty much it. Positioning,
Okay.
like medium-ish. Maybe even a bit lower. Then finally comes your awareness. Awareness. Honestly, I don't think there was like too much in there. Just pay attention to health bars. Pay attention to where's our teammates at, where's enemies at. Besides that, I don't think there's too much else in awareness, and therefore that one comes probably decently low. So put it all in order. Number 1 was mechanics. Number 2 was going to be your positioning. Number 3 is ability usage. 4 ult usage. 5 at awareness. Any final questions?
No, I think you covered everything and more.
All right, gotcha. If you do have any other questions at any point, like as you think of them, or if you have any questions about the other guy's stuff, feel free to bring it up. Be happy to cover that. But why don't we get started on somebody else's here? Who wanted to go next?
I can.
All right, gotcha. Let's hop
It
back
was
into the
the same game code too.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And then did either of you have any questions on any of that? Because some of that's a bit more universal, in application as
Mhm.
well.
I don't think so.
All right, all good.
Welcome to Circuit Royale. Ready for battle.
So you loaded in late, didn't you?
No, I'm Boris.
You're Boris.
Yep.
Oh, Boris shoots. Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
Damage button.
Alright, same thing. Just be a min or some.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I'll look for a minute longer on this, but maybe I have something already. Alright, so we are going to talk DM usage. So, with your defense matrix and your tank player, so this is keep this as a note that this is also very much how you use shields as well and other tanking abilities. Primarily shields though. So shields and DM, this is how you look to use them. You do have a limited supply of it, right? It's a resource. So very kind of like we were talking about with the resource of Moira, is that you want to make sure that you're not really just wasting it when it's not needed, and then the flip side, you want to make sure that you are using it in high value instances. So the times that you don't really want to just be using it is against just any old random spam damage, just when people are just doing their normal shooty shoot stuff.
Okay.
But when you do want to be using it is, and there's a lot of circumstances where you'll use it, you want to be using it again when you're eating up abilities. So think and ultimates as well, right? So those two. Easy way to go about this is come into the game, look at their team composition, and think to yourself, what abilities and ultimates can I eat? And then look to keep an eye out for those things, because then you'll be able to shut them down on a much more regular basis if you're actively like paying attention to them. So if you're to scan their team comp real quick, what abilities and ultimates are you able to eat on their team?
Soldier.
Soldier, visor, yeah.
Yeah, visor.
Yep.
I guess Ana.
Yep. Which
And
I guess for my benefit as well, so I know what you're thinking. If you're able to like name abilities and ults too. So on a nade and sleep, then yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
And I guess that was it because I can't eat Reinhardt's. So
Fire. You can eat his. Can't eat his shatter, but you can eat his fire strikes. That's something to
okay,
keep in
yeah.
mind. As
Okay.
well as Moira orbs you can eat. Right.
Okay.
So
Yeah, yeah.
that's some extra ones in there as well. So that's a decent bit of things, right? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about like 5 different abilities and ultimates that we can eat up, and that'll change game to game. Sometimes there's not much, sometimes there's a lot. And sometimes they're very high impact things to be watching for. So make sure that we're keeping an eye out. So we'll like rewind here, and maybe you'll notice. Okay, sorry. Let me continue on what I'm gonna say, and then I'll rewind and we'll watch through again. But
Okay.
watch for abilities and ultimates. Then besides that, there's also instances where you or your teammates are in danger. So this is gonna kind of be the other big category. And the main time that you're using it, you can use it against high amounts of damage. So let's say you're using it when they grab your whole team and your whole team's in danger like that. You can use it when you or your teammates are low and out in the open. Note that being low is not indicative of danger, right? I can be 1 HP and over here and teammates in danger. Are they low, right? Are they out in the open? So if we're like 1 HP and their team can see us, you DM. You can also DM when you're pushing an aggro, when you're backing out defensively. So there's a lot of different ways that we can use defense matrix, right?
Okay.
Primarily against damage. Now let's look through this real quick and just watch how we use it. So we come out of spawn, we eat the orb, that's good. But we also don't eat the fire strike, right? So we just watch for that. That's just going to help shut down damage as well as keep him from charging his ultimate, that sort of thing. And it's very easy and slow to get. So that's one missed ability right there. That's fire strike that we missed. That's another fire strike right there that we miss. That's another orb that we missed. That one's a bug orb. It's kind of stupid, but and then we kind of hold down our DM against kind of this random spam here. So notice how we're kind of just like keep it there, keep it there, keep it there, and it's not really eating up too much in particular. No one's really, if we look at our top right, no one's really in danger. Everyone's full HP. No one's in front of us. So that kind of just wastes all our resource that we're working with. And then we see it again, Reinhardt fire strikes right through us, right? That's another one that we missed. That's like number 4. And then I think he fire strikes again in a moment. He uses fire strike right there, so that's number 5. And then now we're taking a bunch of damage. That's number 6 right there that we miss. That's number 7 because Ana nades us, which we could have eaten. Right. That's number 8. Right. So that's 8 abilities within the course of, like the first minute or 30 seconds of the game, right? Being
Okay.
open. So just make sure, keep an eye out for those, because that's going to be really high. Usually abilities and ultimates are going to be high levels of danger, right? And it's also high level of value if you're shutting them down on a consistent basis. So if you just tap up your DM for those, it's only gonna take half, this tiny little portion of your overall resource to get rid of these abilities. So that's just something to keep an eye out for there. It all makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Gotcha. All right, and then there, notice how we kind of we hold it down again, and we kind of just swing it on the nothing in particular. We're just kind of holding on the wall there. Good kill on the Widow. If not minorly delayed, because she was sitting up there for a little while, so maybe we could have been pushing her a bit earlier as well. So really, at any point here, I think Junkrat went after her. At any point after we saw that she was up there, we could just be boosting up on top of her, and there's not really much the Widowmaker can do, right? You kind of flat out win that.
Right.
Not too much she can do in that duel besides run away. Alright, but we do boost up at her eventually. Alright, when did we boost up at her? Did we?
I think you already done it.
Oh, right here.
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, I must have skipped it. That confused me. Alright, so we get the Widowmaker. We melt her pretty much instantly. Reinhardt's kind of off by himself, and he's low, so that is a time where you can be looking at him, right? That's perfectly fine. Once again, just keep an eye out for those nades.
Okay.
Okay, watch just kind of holding it down again, kind of on not too much in particular. Kind of target priority, right? So we're spending a lot of time looking at Reinhardt. So 2 things, right? Firstly, equal opportunity, right? So this is an example of equal opportunity right here, right? Moira and Reinhardt right on top of each other, and we choose to look at Moira. And then beyond equal opportunity, there's also actively seeking out other targets. There is saying, there's a Reinhardt in my face. Yes, Reinhardt's easier, but Ana's better. So I'm going to boost past Reinhardt. So that's actively seeking out. That can be done in multiple ways, but the big thing here is we're kind of just sitting here chilling, shooting at Reinhardt when he has 2 supports pocketing him, right? So
Okay.
definitely just swapping up that target priority a little bit. It's going to help secure kills faster.
Okay.
Watching that sleep as well. So a lot of abilities kind of slipping through. Alright. So they're watching the DM because we kind of hold it down once again. So be careful. Here we're kind of just holding it down on air. And then we do hear the ult, so we start holding it down on him. That's good. Okay. When we're low, once again, look to same thing as I was talking about before with him. Look to use cover. So rather than boost, positioning down here, can actually put us out of their line of sight and allow our supports to still heal us. Or if we're gonna boost away from danger, we can even curve to this side over here, where notice how no one on the high ground can really see us, and that gets us much closer to our team. So once again, cover usage is going to be crucial in terms of just looking to stay alive and to take less damage, because we do get very, very close to dying there, and we're taking a lot of unnecessary damage. And then part of, another thing to keep in mind as well is less damage we're taking. Yes, our supports might heal us up, but it's also wasting our supports time, right?
Right.
So the less time they have to, the less time Moira has to spend healing us up, the more time Moira has to go and kill stuff, and more time we have to
Okay.
go and kill this stuff as well. Uh-oh, that's not a good. I didn't see that on his perspective earlier. My heart shatters the air there.
Oh yeah.
Notice kind of the tunneling on Reinhardt again. Maybe look to swap up targets a bit. Right, so. Just notice how like we just shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot, and Reinhardt still doesn't die until he maybe until he overextends. But no, even then, like we just spent the past like 20 seconds shooting at him, and he never dies just because he has so much health. So instead, the really easy way to go and get value, and you're gonna find so much more value, is just by like boosting up at the Widow, right, and just looking to ignore the Reinhardt and not as a blanket always never look at him, because there will be times where you do look at him. But generally speaking, especially that fight would have been much more valuable just to look to bypass him and just move past him.
Okay.
Alright. Reinhardt pushes in. We all get shattered. Watch spam jumping, as this can make you a much easier target to headshot, especially for hit scan and snipers. If you go up, you have to come down, so it's an easily trackable animation. So just watch go and jump, 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 jump. But that's a more minor note. Other thing is just look to use cover and be careful about like kind of sprinting straight forwards into 4 people. So maybe backing off and using that corner could have been helpful there to not get sniped.
Okay.
Okay, so we do go for Widow here. That's good. Make sure when we're a lot of the times your missiles and your boosters want to be used in combo with each other. You want to boost in on top of somebody and then use your missiles, not the vice versa. So it's okay to use your missiles to spam, but only if you're not planning to go in for the next, what's the cooldown again? Not 7 seconds, right? So only if you're planning on not going in for the next seconds do you want to be missiling from this distance. Because otherwise you're going to want it for when you get in on top of the Widowmaker, and then you get to burst her down even faster. So this is the same effect that on Moira, the same effect as throwing in the damage orb while you're doing it, is that it's 2 different sources of damage. You're shooting them, you're boosting on them, and you're missiling, which is 3 different sources of damage, which means they melt much faster. The faster someone dies, the less time they have to run away, get to cover, get healing, use tanking abilities, that sort of thing. So faster in terms of kills is always better, right? So just look to combo them together, and then that way we're able to just finish her off a bit better. Okay. Doesn't sound as though we didn't hear the soldier or we don't know where he's at. Because soldiers look at visor right here. So definitely soldier here would be the better target. Could probably burst him down really fast if we use our missiles on him too. And then Reinhardt just kind of shreds us. Kind of same thing as what I was saying to Crow before as well, as just don't step into his swing range if at all possible, because you kind of just boosted in and stood on top of his swing range, which is where he prefers us to be, right?
Yeah.
That's what he wants. Yeah, so we boosted up out of danger, and then we dropped right back inside in front of
Yeah.
swing. Uh-oh. So you just gotta be careful, because that ends up just staggering us a bit longer.
10 seconds remaining.
Yep, watch stepping into him. So here, don't run towards him, run away from him. Just so we're able to stay outside of that. But that would be right there one of the exceptions to the rule of like trying to get mech back as soon as possible. Mech kind of takes the priority, so shooting at the tank is fine there. Yeah,
Okay. All right.
that's where you wanna, that's perfectly reasonable. Okay, like we're using boosters to get back from spawn faster. That's good. Target priority. Okay, we do swap over to the Moira, but then oh, yep, there we go. Melee at the end of your boosters, and also boost into someone. So let's like really quickly. So we're at 530. Let's just really quickly like cover like the combo, right? Because we're not really utilizing it too well when we're engaging on enemies. So when we come in, what we're doing is we're doing this, where we just boost up next to them, and then we start shooting at them, and then we're hoping they die, and that's just it's gonna be much slower, especially when of course they're moving around and I'm not hitting headshots, and we're adding spread into account. So overall you're missing out on a lot of damage sources, whereas what we can do is we can actually boost, which does damage, and we can melee at the end of our boost, which does damage. So we can melee and oh sorry, I actually accidentally shot them, so we didn't get to see it. And it's actually a bit weird, because they did actually change it to where you can't melee to cancel. I don't know why they changed that, but you can't melee to cancel anymore. So, oh, I keep immediately shooting. My bad. I'm trying to like.
No, you're good.
All right, we got it. All right, so look at their health. Right, we get that extra damage in there. Missiles. If we're landing our missiles, it does this much extra damage. So between all of his abilities, they're already dead if we land it all. Right now,
Right.
and then it's also consistent and easy to land damage is the other thing, right? That we have to keep in mind. So when we combo all of that together, where we're damaging them from 1, 2, 3, 4 different sources of damage: missiles, melee, rockets, and shooting. Right, we're gonna be able to burst people down really quickly, right? Where we can pretty much melt them instantaneously. We can just blow them up. So just make sure you're looking to just combo those together. Your boosters are on they're on a 4-second cooldown, so you can do this pretty frequently. Right, you can be doing this a lot, and especially if we're going on those squishier targets, we're gonna be able to get a lot of more kills, which is gonna be a lot more value if we're just looking to focus and farm up those backlines. All that making sense?
Yeah, it is.
Yep. All right. Yeah. Okay.
Welcome to Circuit Royale. Ready for battle.
All right. Okay. Great spot for the bomb. I'm thinking. Now, there is going in when you shouldn't, backing out when you shouldn't. So you can get advanced with this, but the primary way to tell is by glancing at kill feed. And kill feed will give you, info on when you're up people, when you're down people. The other thing is you can actually enable this new setting in sounds, play sounds when enemy and teammate are eliminated. You can turn those on, and this is basically an auditory version of kill feed. It'll give you pinging, kind of ping sounds when enemies and teammates are eliminated that vary in pitch depending on how many are dead and if it is enemies or teammates. Then pay attention to it. If you are up or down 1 to 2 people, that is an advantage or disadvantage. So at that point, you get extra aggro, or on the flip side, you play more passive. Then, if you are up or down 2 to 3 people, that is a won or lost fight. In that case, you get extra aggro, you push forwards, you try to get kills. If you've lost the fight, then you get out if you can. If you can't, you let them kill you, so that way you don't stagger yourself. And then, in either case, whether or not you've won or lost the fight, you don't really want to be using ultimates. Because if that's the case, you end up just kind of wasting the ultimate, because it's overkill. If you already won the fight, it's overkill. If you've lost the fight, then it's not going to change the fact that you lost. Holding on to the ultimate rather than using it. All that makes sense?
Yeah, it does.
Right. And the Moira is definitely, I don't know what she's doing.
This rabbit fights back. Sniper, don't get caught.
Yeah, gotta watch the... Here, we end up taking a lot of damage once again. Watch stepping into Reinhardt's range. Play right outside of it. Besides that, watch the nade. Don't push in when you're 90 HP. Would be another thing. So watch the health bar, request healing when you're low. Watch the nades. There are a lot of things here that definitely could have helped keep us in mech.
I promise you, he of all people requests healing the most.
All right.
Diving in.
Yeah, once again, that kind of Reinhardt tunnel vision. And then he's not dying, and he's not dying. And then he finally dies to an ultimate. Okay. Watch the health bar once again. Kind of. Oh, I guess Widowmaker headshots to there, and that's where we take all the damage. Looked it back up. Use cover. Just get around that right corner. That means we're gonna take a lot less damage. Uh-oh. All right. So, one thing that we're not really utilizing with our bombs is just the boosting. This is going to be really handy with our bombs in many different facets. Let's go over here. Of course, it's going to take a little while to farm up our bombs, but when we're using our bomb, all you got to do is just, and you've probably seen this, you probably used it, just I'd say use it a bit more than you are currently. Let's get, who can we farm up the most? So when we're using our bombs, make sure that you are boosting before you're bombing. You can do this in multiple ways. In that right there, that engagement, And if we're trying not to, just toss bomb all the way into them, we can look at the floor while we're bombing, and we can boost, and that'll actually kind of throw it in just really slowly and won't go as far. So that's one way that you can do it. The further down you look, these not as far it'll go. I don't. That's a bad way of saying that, but
Yeah.
the closer it'll go, the further down
Okay.
you look. Other ways you can do this in other engagements would have been to toss it up in the air, right? Tossing it up in the air. Usually you want to boost about halfway, and then you throw it. If you boost all the way and then you throw it, then it'll just drop all the way back to the ground. And then if you throw it up in the air immediately, then it'll explode too high up in the air. So you want to boost up kind of about to the 1 second marker, and then you throw it. Oftentimes it's going to be handy if you throw it diagonally, so it's harder to know where it's going. You can also do this off of something. Another really easy way is to just boost straight forwards off of a high ground or so. So we can do just something like this and just boost it straight forward so it explodes above them. Oftentimes, if you're coming from high grounds or cover, or if you're throwing it over rooftops, that can make it so that it's really hard to tell where it's coming from. So if I, for example, did something like this, where I kind of throw it up right there, right? That can make it just really hard to tell from the enemy team where the heck is it coming from, right?
Okay.
Which can be very handy. So watch for rooftops and little alleyways and be coming from behind them and doing it from high grounds. If you're on point, kind of toss it straight up. This will do multiple things. This will make it harder to predict where it's gonna land. This can also make cover make it so that they can't really use cover, right? So imagine if I just plop it on the ground, well then they can just run around the corner here. But if it explodes up here in the air, well then notice how for example if the bomb was here, notice how it just hits them anywhere they go around the corner, right? So
Yeah.
having it explode midair can hit more people, it can get over shields, things like that. All right, I think that's about it. Fun fact, in case it wasn't known, I don't know if it was, but DM has a range of, I believe, 10 meters, if I'm not mistaken. I don't actually remember if they've changed that at all. I don't know if there's a way that I can do this sideways or not. Because I don't know if I can do this sideways to be able to measure that out. But, yeah, in any case, let's start to
Okay.
wrap up a little bit here towards the end. We got abilities, boosters. Look to boost on squishy enemies to go in and get kills. Use your missiles to combo in with that. It is okay to spam your missiles, but only spam your missiles if you don't plan to be going in anytime soon, right? That's usually the in-between fights that we're using that. DM, be careful with how we're using DM. We want to use it up against dangerous situations when us or our teammates are in danger, when we're taking high amounts of damage, when we're pushing in, when we're backing out. And then, this is the big one, intentionally look for abilities and ultimates. Press tab and just check out what are they running so that we can more actively watch for them and keep your eyes open for those so that we can not get slept and antied every other second and so that we can just deny a lot of value. And then also don't use it just up against any random spam damage. Overall, abilities was probably a medium, maybe a higher end of medium priority for you to work on. Then comes your ult usage. Honestly, I want to say it was too shabby. There was the one time that we used it when it was already won. Other than that, the other times I think had good timing. Let's see, yeah. So there's one time that it was out of timing. Besides that, throw it with your boosters. And then I think that's about it. That one's a bit lower, maybe medium, maybe a little bit lower end of medium, somewhere like that. Then comes your mechanics. Bit shaky with the tracking. That can be remedied by maybe warming up before you play. I'd recommend that for all of you guys. It's just especially if you're playing a more aim intensive character, not as much if you're just playing Moira Diva does require a bit of tracking though, so maybe do a quick warm up before you play competitive. Like 10 minutes or so. Modes that can help with that. Rather, I wouldn't do like practice ranger, quick play. I would do something aim intensive. So you can do tryhard free for all, deathmatch. You can do 1v1 arena. You can do aim arena. There's different aim. There's different aim training codes in game. You can use an aim trainer out of game. And then besides that, the other thing that can help with mechanics is just playing consistently. Maybe if you don't have a ton of time throughout the week, maybe even something as simple as like doing that 10-minute warm up once a day can help keep you consistent with it. Overall, I don't think it was a major thing though. I'm just throwing out ideas to help a bit with the aim, but I don't think it was a major hindrance. It
Right.
wasn't the biggest thing that I saw. Besides that, within mechanics, the big one within mechanics was target priority. Okay, that one was even worse than when we were talking about it with Crow, because with Crow, he's on Moira, and it's still a thing on Moira, but on Diva, it's even more important because more of your kit is revolving around making sure you're getting kills and value, and we were kind of hard focusing Reinhardt a lot of the time, so be careful about shooting at the wrong targets. Only shoot at them if they're only shoot at the hard targets if they're made easy or if you don't have another option. Right, and then
Okay.
besides that, actively seek out the easier targets and look to focus them up. That overall was probably that one was trying to think. That alone, just that target priority, probably was pretty high on the list. That was like higher end of a medium, maybe lower end of a medium high. And then hopefully it's that like those mindset shifts are a bit easier to implement than some of like the other gameplay things, just because it's a bit more of a mental thing. But well, yeah, so hopefully that'll be a bit easier to apply as well. Then comes positioning. Make sure you're just using cover. Sometimes where we are out in the open. Besides that, I don't think there's like too much else off with positioning. Main thing was just use cover. And that one was a bit more towards like a medium. And then we finally have awareness. Pay attention to the flow of the fight, which we talked about before. 1 to 2 and then 2 to 3 is advantage and disadvantage versus won and lost fight. And then don't use ults in those circumstances. Besides that, just keep an eye on your health bar. Keep an eye particularly on enemies and their abilities would be, the main thing there. And just, also like danger levels of teammates and kind of just what's going on around you. That one was about like a medium priority as well. Just having a bit of everything there. So I put that all in order. Number 1, probably going to be that target priority. Number 2 is going to be the ability usage. Number 3 is going to be your, let's see, probably awareness, then your positioning, and then finally ult usage coming last. Did you have any questions about it?
I don't think I have any right now, but I might later.
All right, feel free to just keep thinking on it, and then
Okay.
let me know if you got them.
All right.
All right. Finally, over to you, CB.
Yes, sir. All right. Let's see here. I'm putting in the code
All right,
right now
gotcha.
in Discord. See, yeah. So I mean, I know that I told you. I know that I told you I usually play DPS, but since we're only doing one, I guess I'd rather you just look at the Mercy gameplay that I have, the support. And because was support your best role whenever you got top 500?
I peaked like 2 SR over my DPS.
Okay. Yeah, I got you. Yeah. I got you. Yeah. So I mean, yeah. This session, it can be support, and then if we do any more, it'll be DPS the next time.
Gotcha.
Awesome.
Do you like, how would you say you typically like spread that time out? Is it like between support and DPS? Do you usually like 50-50, or do you like heavily prioritize one of them?
No, it's mainly I just flex,
Mhm.
especially when I'm playing in a group, and it just sort of depends because I mean I think tank is my worst role, DPS is my best, then support is my second, but it can sort of flip flop. It just sort of depends on the day. If support is better than my DPS, you know.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So,
If it's us three, he can play DPS, but with other people, he normally can't because our friends
Mhm.
are bad.
Gotcha. So, let me ask you real quick those questions I asked them at the start before you
Yeah.
joined. I'm actually gonna skip over a couple because I think they answered a few for you.
Yeah.
But what usually your goals are while you're playing the game? Are you playing to win games, to rank up, to improve, or just to have fun?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think 100% is to win. You know, I mean, no matter what. So it's like,
Hmm.
I don't really care much particularly about the stats. It's just
Hmm.
more of, trying to win. So like for instance, if I'm playing with Boris, I know that he's heavy aggro. So I mean, I'm gonna keep the healing on him most of the time, just so he can stay alive. Then get the kills. If it's someone that is less aggro, I sort of just play to the play style of a whoever.
Hmm. All
But
right. So this is out of everything I've said so far, this is the most like up to you thing because it's
hmm
just going to depend on what your goals are and like kind of what you want out of the game. But my recommendation for someone who's looking to win and that be their main priority, is if you're trying to get better, you're going to get better faster if you're limiting your hero pool a bit more.
mm,
And whereas if you spread yourself too thin, that can just slow down the improvement process because you're
yeah,
essentially trying to improve on like too many different things and
yeah,
every character, and especially between roles because they play so differently. Every character and role has different abilities and ultimates and different play styles and different mechanics and different
hmm
ways to position and pay attention to things. So, it's not impossible and it's definitely doable. And I personally have a very flexy play style because that's how I enjoy playing the game. And
yeah,
I've been playing for so long, and a lot of times I play with friends, so it's not I'm just playing for fun.
yeah,
So overall, it's more so just like what are you trying to get out of the game, and if you're trying to just win or improve and just get better and climb, then I may recommend trying to stick to like a role, and that'll
yeah,
help you do that faster. And that's not to say that you like never ever play the other role, but maybe it's more like, okay, you prioritize the one and you're playing 80% on the one. And then maybe if you have a bad day or if you're just trying to have fun with friends for some quick play, then you go over and play on the other role, right? That sort of thing.
yeah,
But it's just the prioritizing can help put more practice in on and help you improve at a faster pacing on the characters
yeah,
on certain characters. That makes sense.
yeah, yeah, of course.
All right. So besides that, did you have any questions for me before we hop into it?
No, no, man, I'm just excited.
All right. So let's go then.
This will just take a moment. Let's get the payload. There's much for you to do.
All right. All right. Start that for half a second. I forgot this is a new code, so I was getting confused when he was hog.
Yeah, yeah.
You're doing fine now. Damage intensified. Time to let your guard up. Here to assist.
All right. We're going to go over a bit on her beam usage. So this is going to be similar in nature to what I talked about over when Crow was playing Moira. In firstly watch the overhealing as we've come across a couple scenarios where we've gotten somebody full HP and then we kind of stay on them for a little bit. And
Yeah.
the easy way to counter this is to immediately swap. Once you get someone to full HP, you get a little ding sound. You'll see they're full HP. Is immediately swap the damage boost, because then that's an immediately change. Have a way to get value versus 0 value.
Yeah.
And then also just look around for something else to do, right? Like for someone else to heal. So for Roadhog, if you get him up to full HP, look for the Bastion who's right next to him to heal up Bastion. And then once again, remember that full HP doesn't doesn't always need to be 100% HP, right? So if Bastion's this low, Bastion's the higher priority than the, I mean, of course you do 8 hours, just giving the example, but
Yeah.
looking to just swap over. Then beyond that, let's also talk a hair about like your target priority with terms of who should you have your beam on. I would probably look to keep your beam on the DPS unless people are needing healing. And if you're damaging, you should probably look to default back to the DPS a bit more than
Okay.
you are. And this is, you've probably heard the term pocket target.
Yeah.
I like to use the term default target better when I'm coaching people, just because it's a bit easier to understand the role of the character. And essentially, you want to pick out the targets on your team who is the best default target. The person who, if nobody else needs nothing, you're not needing to go around and no one needs healing, nobody needs a res, then you're going, and there's no other better target, you're defaulting back to that person with the healing and the damage boost, right? Because they're the person who outputs the most consistent DPS, or the best target the DPS to damage boost, that sort of thing. And that the way of thinking it like that is gonna just help to know like when do you do what. Here, like for example, like we came out of spawn damage boosting Roadhog when Roadhog's not the best person on our team. He's not the most consistent source of damage.
Yeah.
Another thing to think about as well, which I haven't. This is kind of going a bit more into just. Apologies if this is something you do. I'm just kind of going more into it, even though we haven't really seen it yet. But
Yeah.
times where you would swap to Roadhog would be if he's landing his ability or ultimate. So if he's whole hogging, go for it. If he
Yeah.
hooked someone, go for it. Damage boost him. But really any other time he's not really a fantastic target to be damage boosting or to be healing unless he really needs it.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't really be focusing too much on the hog unless he's in danger, he's critical, he's using an ability or ultimate. If he's not one of those things, then you probably want to be on the default targets, which in this case, honestly, the Ash would probably be best until Bastion's in his Sentry form, and then
Yeah.
Bastion be best. So honestly, you have a lot of great targets to pick from here, right?
Yeah.
I would be Ash's default. When Bastion's using his ability, go for Bastion. When Hog's using his ability or ultimate, go for Hog. And that's usually going to be kind of how you work your target priority around. All that making sense? Any questions on
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. Of course.
All right. So let's keep watching here. Okay, you're on Bastion. That's good. Once we get to full HP, make sure we're just instantly swapping to the damage boost. Notice how we
Yeah.
get him to full HP right here. And we immediately swap the damage boost, but we're healing, and we're healing,
Yeah.
and we're healing, and we're healing, and then we're healing Hog. And
Yeah.
we're healing. Right, so that's just all over healing. Just immediately make sure we're getting over that damage boost. That's just going to be value versus no value.
Yeah.
Okay. Probably could be Valking sometime around now. Okay, good res. Okay. So when it comes to ultimates, and this is another one of those things where like this is in everything applicable, so everyone kind of pay attention because this isn't just a mercy thing. Ultimates that are used first generally get more value than ults that are used second. So note that Reaper came in and blossomed, and then we used Valk, and therefore Reaper pretty much got more value, right? We just used Valk a bit too late in this fight. Whereas if we use Valk earlier on in the fight, and we get the damage boost in, well then we can damage boost and be aggressive with it and get kills, and then that puts us kind of at that snowball advantage where We might kill them before they get a chance to ult. We might kill them as they're ulting. They might not, like, maybe we mess up their ult combos, or we just snowball before they get a chance to do anything. So overall, it's just more powerful the earlier on we're using it. That's not any, like, some ultimates aren't like that. Diva Bomb in particular, I'd say sometimes you don't want to be using it super early. I guess, all right, pause for a second. I'm going to go back. Ults, generally across the board, they're best used at the start of the fight. Mid-fight is okay. Late fight is situational. And then in between fights is very rare. Maybe like one of the times you could do that is like if it's the last fight of the game.
Yeah.
But besides that, it's very rare do you want to be ulting on the in between portion. And here the beginning of the fight would have been like, you know, like 5-7 seconds ago when we like first got Valk. Whereas now at this point the fights, by the time we were popping Valk, is more like mid fight, and then they ended the fight really quickly with the Blossom. Diva Bomb, like I was saying before, that it's like trance and bead and things like that. Those are going to be wanting to be used as responsive, but a lot of the other ultimates in the game can be used at the start of the fight, being usually the best timing. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yep. So this one's just a bit too late. They kind of won the fight before it got a chance to do anything. Okay, when he lands that hook, swap over the damage boost real quick. That could help, probably help one tap him here. So it's handy to secure kills if we're just giving him that extra boost.
Amplifying your power.
Making use of that mercy buff, I see.
Yep.
Let me fix you up.
Okay. I'm not seeing a whole lot of. I'm noticing a lot of forwards and backwards and forwards and backwards. I'm not noticing as much super jumps in there. So just to make sure, because I noticed earlier you were looking up to kind of do the bounce. Are you familiar with like the new text of how to super jump off of your guardian angels?
Is that when you fly towards them and then you go directly up?
So that's like one way to do it. I'd say that's probably not the best way to do it because it kind of throws off your visibility and your awareness as you have to look up at the sky, and then that throws off like your awareness of where people are if you're doing that. So if this is what you're talking about here, where I can look
Yeah.
up and do that, right? So that's one way to do it. Also, I don't even know if that gives you max height. The other simpler way to do this is to fly and then just press your whatever your crouch button is. Usually that's control by default, right?
Crouch. Okay. Yeah.
So notice how I fly and then crouch, and that launches me up.
Okay.
So that's the simplest way to do that. Note that it is dependent upon how far away you are from them, with how high you go. So if I am right here, from them, then I'll just kind of go a little bit up. Same thing if I would imagine, same thing if I kind of look up there. Notice here how that it like kind of barely gets us up. The further away I go, though, this is gonna be where you kind of see me going all the way up. It'll also depend on like how early do you press the crouch, because you can also do this like from back here, right? Like I can do it from far away to the, you know, I don't have to do it. I don't have to get all the way up close to the person, right? But the longer we're in flight for, the higher what we're gonna be able to go. So I'd look to utilize that a bit more. I think sometimes we're actually putting ourselves by launching ourselves backwards. We're like actually putting ourselves outside of range of people. So make sure we're staying within range of our teammates. Beam range is going to be believe 15 meters, if I'm not mistaken, right? So that stays on them from here. But then if I walk backwards, does it stay? No, it goes away, right? So it's 15 meters is your beam range. Same thing as the Moira healing. Make sure that we're just sticking within that, and we're trying to. We basically, with both like Moira and Mercy, but I'd say maybe even like mildly more Mercy, you want to be within range and able to swap to anyone at any moment. So there's ways to do this with positioning. Firstly, not being far away, because if I'm all the way back here, well then I can only, you know, get to this one person, not everybody. The other thing is position yourselves. So like if we're all the way over here and we're healing this person, well then we can't get to those people. That person's critical and we can't heal them. Same thing if we went over on this side over here. Whereas an easy way to remedy this is just to use like cover and stay here, and then now I can just swap between any of these guys at a moment's notice. So looking to position like that where we can just instantly swap between anybody, that's going to help with healing people quickly, people in danger, but then also being able to damage boost, you know, like if Hog lands the hook, we're able to quickly swap to him with the damage boost. So I would just be careful about, like, it's definitely not doing this, especially if you have people on top of you, to be making it hard for them to shoot you, but I wouldn't be doing that, like, off of cooldown over and over and over again, especially if you're launching yourself too far away, because if we're doing this max distance, that's definitely outside of your beam range.
Yeah.
The other thing is crouch. I wouldn't do crouch. Crouch can be fantastic to get you up on high ground. Super jump can be fantastic to get up on the high grounds. It can also be a great way to get visibility and to be making it kind of harder for people to shoot at you while still remaining close to them, to your teammates. The only thing is be careful about using it when you you don't have cover up in the sky, or high grounds or anything like that, right? So we can use buildings, right, while we're up in the air as cover. So watch for how much cover do we have. The other thing is, do they have like hit scan characters, and are they looking at us? Hit scan, I would probably super jump a bit less off cooldown if they have like hit scans that can shred you super easily, because then we're kind of making it easy for them to just shoot us out of the sky. But if they don't have anything that can test us, then I do it even more frequently, and this can be a fantastic way to get away from brawly and divey characters.
Lie down.
Oh, where am I at?
Welcome to circuit ready for battle.
Let me fix you up.
So notice right here how we kind of walk outside of that range, right? And then now we have a critical teammate, and we kind of just walked outside of it. Just being careful of that. And once again, notice how we flung ourselves way far back outside of a range. So same thing there. Good res. Reses have been good so far. Okay. Once again, notice here. So you want to be as close as possible. You know, want to be able to swap between people while also still using cover. But notice how we are back at this range where we can't see Hog, we can't reach Hog, we can't reach Kiriko. Whereas we could be right here and have the exact same access to everybody, or have better access to everybody, and yet we're not in any more danger, right? This isn't putting us in any more danger than if we are back there. If Reaper comes towards us, we just fly backwards, right? That's all we got to do. So that making sense?
Yeah.
Yep. So here, our teammates up front are now dying, and we're just not in range, and then that ends up getting Hog killed. So that's looking like probably a bigger thing. Making sure we're staying in range, not putting ourselves outside of range.
Yeah.
I can fix that.
Okay. Good res. Res has been on point. I mean, like, they haven't really been contesting them too much, but not any problems with those. like they were using it.
Be uplifted. Heroes never die.
Okay, like they were kind of using it early off in this fight. At the same time, though, let's see. So we do use it here,
Heroes never die.
and we swing in. Maybe once she goes away, we can try to follow her with the pistol. But after Diva's not in range, I'd probably swap back to the other teammates because the other teammates are actually grouped up. Whereas here we're boosting a single Diva, right? So at this point, our ultimate's pretty much not really doing very much because the primary value of our ultimate in which it hits multiple targets isn't being used, right? So
Yeah.
going over that other group where we can hit 3 people at the same time, that's probably gonna be a bit more valuable.
Mhm.
Once again, damage boost, and people are full. Just want to see a lot more of that, especially on those DPS.
Here to help. I could use some assistance.
30 seconds remaining.
Still watching over you. We've got to get moving.
Okay, the other thing you're doing great at is staying survivability. I don't think we've died yet, so you're doing good on that end. Okay, possibly could be looking for res. Okay, so good. I like the eye in going for the res. Though we do go for it in kind of clear view of Widow. So the first thing I'd say is watch this little like hop that we're doing before res. I would maybe try to not be we hop into it, and then that puts us like kind of straight in Widow's view here while we're
Yeah.
resing. Where I think no matter what, how we're rezzing, Widowmaker's gonna see us, which is an issue. Because I don't think you can't crouch while rezzing. I'm pretty sure on that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go for this res because no
Yeah.
matter what she taps you, I can't actually, because it's hard to see with this like camera if you'd be able to duck behind this. It's possible you could duck behind this while you're rezzing. So that would be what I would try to do. If you're gonna try to go for it, make sure you're using the cover, right?
Yeah.
So the Widowmaker can't see you for it.
Yeah.
Because she's looking right on top of you here. And she ends up missing. So you just got to be a bit careful with that one.
Yeah.
I'm at the hunt running out of time. Move quickly.
Uh-oh.
Um,
Widowmaker domes us. So for all of you, right, and we've kind of I've already been going over, different deaths, but deaths aren't so hot, and you kind of want one of the way that you self-improve at the game, right, in which you identify your own things to work on, is to watch for mistakes and deaths. Deaths are an easy mistake. You're not deaths don't seem to be your big thing. Right? That's not really seeming to be the issue, but I'm still going to demonstrate it because it's helpful for all of you guys in identifying mistakes in general. Deaths, obvious mistake. Teammate dying, obvious mistake. When you could have done something, of course. And then not getting other value, maybe missing the res, things like that. It's other mistakes. Not getting value out of your ultimate, that's a mistake. So you want to look to identify, okay, what is the mistake? Dying was the mistake. Was the issue within the mistake? So you can think through, okay, we died here. Well, why did we die? Right? We don't want to just leave it at, oh, I died. Think through the why did I die? You can do this in game as you're going along. You can be thinking that through while you're respawning. What would you say are some? We've already mentioned some of them. What would you say are some common reasons why people die?
not using cover. And, just sort of flying in right there, not being aware where Widow is right there.
Of just being a lack of cover, right? We're just smack dab in the middle of the
Yeah.
open. Whereas if we boost off of the diva, then we can come over here. That'd probably be like the best option. Or I mean, honestly, flight.
Yeah.
Making sure you know how to cancel flight, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Just can't cancel flight, right? Stop here, and then now we're once again out of line of sight. So, that sort of thing, right? Definitely could help us. Other things that can cause deaths in general are lack of awareness, over aggression, sprinting into their team. There's going to be misuse of abilities, such as if we maybe accidentally fly into their team, or if we don't fly away when we could have. Then finally you have like poor movement, like if we stood still, that sort of thing. But
Yeah.
here, you know, you kind of hit the nail on the head, like I said. So yeah, like we do it again where we kind of look like on it. Honestly, I think it just is a bit clunkier than just pressing the button.
Yeah. No, see, I actually didn't know the
Yeah.
mechanic to do. I didn't know about the crouch.
Yeah,
That you do that, it just goes directly up.
all good.
Yeah. So I was just trying to do that.
The more you know.
Yeah.
Right.
Heroes never die.
Decent timing, but probably once again could be using Valk like maybe like 5 seconds earlier ish.
Yeah.
Could be using it like pretty much now, like as soon as we get
Yeah.
it. Could be using it because we have two teammates who are low here, right? Especially Kiriko. The fights pretty much like part of the fight at this point, right? Like noting how close the teams are together, the divas are together. So this fight's at this point has pretty much started, and this would be a good time for our Valk. We're mildly delayed, and then by the time we're using it, 2 ultimates have already been used, and
Heroes never die.
we're already down our diva at this point as well. Probably can, especially looking at the team comp where they don't really have too much. You probably could have like flown up in a way rather than like down towards cover. Just get out of range of it is something we could have done. Another thing is probably want to be looking to like go for res here. Either or probably could go for at this point. No one doesn't look like anybody's really like looking at this one, and you'd be able to swoop in really fast and honestly, either or I think could work fine.
Enemy turret ahead. Watch yourself.
Yeah, so this is actually a fight. Especially if we were able to secure a res.
Yeah.
Whereas because we don't secure a res, then it's more of a lost fight. Okay. Request healing, get your Kiriko to look at you, right? So that's gonna be a handy tool there, right? Because we kind of
Yeah.
just sit here at 30 HP. Use cover.
Not on my watch. Boosting your damage.
Okay, probably stay on the Ash, right? A little bit of overhealing. Now we're on Bastion, because Bastion's in Sentry.
Yeah.
You know, just a bit more of those things.
Checking in. Monstering you. Kick this off.
And then he lost him in.
This will help. Keep attacking until the last second. Right by you. Enhancing your strength. We've got to get moving. Speeding up. But then, no, get in there, Bob. Heroes
All right. But you guys do have the advantage in that as of the immediate moment, it's a 5v3. So if we melt these guys down, maybe using Bob, it's possible we might win this fight off of that. So at this point, I just say that the fact that they're coming in and it's a 3v5, this is an advantage for you guys, right? So maybe even a heavy advantage. So at this point, it may be a good idea to like just to see, just see like, do I need to use it? Be a bit hesitant on using Valk. And then if you do use ultimates, probably it wouldn't be fantastic to like use all of them here. May like because you and Boris both use your ultimates, so this is kind of on both of you. Of just like I'd give it a second just to wait and see, how fast are you guys able to melt people. And then maybe don't use like both of them at the same time. Now they do pick the hog, but then we get Zenyatta immediately. Probably gonna be rezzing. There you go. Good res. So I'd say maybe like Kiriko ult there was the one that's probably better to hold on to. I think Valk was fine because you also want to get off the res as well.
Yeah.
Kiriko is probably more of the over ults where, and then
Let me take a look.
Tor. Wait, did they? No, that was their Tor bolt. Never mind.
Yeah.
You don't have a Tor. Right. Once again, noticing we're kind of defaulting to the hog, right? Whereas probably default once again be the Ash.
Yeah.
60 seconds remaining.
Get them out here. Enemy turret ahead. Watch
Oh, Ash is critical. There you go.
I am here to support. Feeling more powerful?
Yeah, swap over to that right click once he lands that hook.
Yeah.
Alright.
30 seconds remaining.
Okay, good juggling.
You call?
Alright. Mild, I would say a mild overuse of the fly back. I don't know if people have named that yet.
Yeah.
Fly back thing. The other thing here is just look to play at a distance where we can just go. I think sometimes we're also like just overusing Guardian Angel in general, where
Yeah.
I don't want you to go in the opposite direction and just never use it because it's really
Yeah.
good to use your abilities. But sometimes we're like flying when we could just like swap our beam around people. Like we could just like position here and nobody can shoot at us, and I can swap between any of the 4 people in front of us.
Yeah.
But instead we're going here and back and here and back, and
Yeah.
then that's just putting us in their line of sight for them to be able to shoot at us, and also that can even make it more confusing at like sitting right here. Well, now we have line of sight on everybody, right? We can see
Yeah.
everybody all at once. Careful that we're not like overusing it when it's not necessary. Because you can kind of see that here we're like, okay, well we step in front of the Reaper and then he taps us and now we're down to like 38 HP and we almost died
Yeah.
when we could have just stood still the whole the whole time.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. I do not. If I'm gonna be honest, I think that damage boosts Bastion ultimate. If I'm not mistaken,
Yeah.
I think I watched like a CarQ Mythbusters on that, but I don't fully remember. But I'm fairly certain that it does do extra damage, so I would damage boost the Bastion so his ult does more.
Yeah.
Never die.
I think I noticed that the Ash was close to his ultimate. That's why I chose him.
Alright. Let's cut out here. So, overall, Mercy, I'd say maybe looking to damage just a bit more. Now, it's not nearly as extreme, as extreme as we were talking about with, Crows with the Moira, because Moira is like a 50-50 with damage healing. Mercy with damage boost is much less. It's also it will depend heavily, really heavily on. I would say even more so than Moira. It'll depend on what team compositions you're running. Of how what the ratio is of healing to damage, because some compositions you're gonna have better pocket targets than others. Like if you're running like a Pharah Mercy, you're gonna be on damage boost much more frequently than you are if you're running a composition that has no good pocket targets, right? Like if you have no good default targets, then you're gonna be running around and healing and damage boosting random people much more frequently, and kind of juggling everybody, right? So that'll be a big difference, but I'd just say that it's a bit more than we are currently, so I'd look to bump it up a hair, and damage boost more frequently. So let's start to wrap up. Abilities. Your Guardian Angel, crouch to fly up in the air, look to cancel it. I think we're overusing the fly back a little bit. Make sure you're not flying back out of range. Maybe overusing Guardian Angel slightly, where we're just using it like pretty much off of cooldown, when sometimes like we're using it when we don't even need to. So reserve it for the primary usages of it is movement, getting places faster, dodging damage, and whatnot, and that's really, and then like repositioning, right? Like, and which is also part of movement. So those are really the two main purposes. So just think like, if it's not accomplishing one of those two things, then it's not really needed. Res, which overall was pretty solid. I think like maybe like one or two where we would have tweaked it, but honestly, not too many comments on it, which is really great. Not, that's I would say minor, a bit abnormal. Usually, yeah, I'd say you're on the better end of reses for Mercies. So overall abilities, which is primarily Guardian Angel usage, probably like a medium priority for you to work on. I don't think it's like game changing, but it is like a frequent bad habit. Then ult usage, start of fights, don't use it one of lost fights, and look to use it a bit earlier. Ults that are used first get more value than ults that are used second. Damage boost a bit more frequently on it. That's gonna be like the getting the chain damage boost is a bit more valuable than getting the chain healing in a lot of cases, because you can't really like out heal other ultimates, but getting that chain damage boost charges every ult on your team faster, and it's just gonna be really powerful. As like just an example that back in Overwatch 1 with Orisa's old ultimate, that was in Overwatch 1 at least at one point. I don't know honestly, because I don't know if the stats for it were public like all the time, but at one point that was was the highest fight winning ultimate, the most powerful ultimate in the game, because it's just really valuable to get the damage boost to every character at the same time. But yeah, Mercies it just goes to show that like maybe damage is a bit more, especially people don't need it. Overall, that one though a little bit lower, probably like low to medium, maybe higher end of low to medium. Then comes your mechanics, which is Mercy is more like beam usage. How are you beaming people? Default target, right? Swap back to them when no one else needs anything, right? Just default back to that person. Think through who's the best, most consistent, high-value target damage boost. Ashe in the last game is probably the best one. Watch for abilities and ultimates that kind of change that up a little bit too, and swap around and damage boost when certain abilities and ultimates are being used. Then besides that, don't overheal. Watch people's health bars. Swap the damage immediately. So get them to full HP. Swap the damage. Look for somebody else. Right, it's kind of the standard procedure. A bit like I was saying before, a bit more damage boosting. Bit less on the tank than you were doing. I think that's about it. That overall was probably a bit higher than because also a lot of your gameplay as Mercy is beaming people. So that one is probably a bit higher, like a higher end of a medium. That's maybe a tad bit higher, but that's about right to put it. Then comes your positioning. Make sure you're using cover. Make sure that you're not staying out of range. This was another big one, was like we'd end up putting ourselves out of range of our of our beam. Make sure you're staying within range of it, 15 meters. Then I think that's the main things with it. Overall, that was also big important thing. That one was maybe higher end of medium as well. And then finally, we have your awareness. Awareness, pay attention to your surroundings. Just pay attention to, watch health bars. Pay attention to who needs healing, who doesn't, who's in danger, who should I be with. Watch your teammates' abilities. Just watch the flow of the fight and when you should be using your ultimate. And then that's about it. I don't think that one was kind of a little bit of odds and ends. I don't think it was major. So that one probably goes to maybe like lower end of a medium. So to put that all in order, number one, it comes to probably beam usage being number one.
Vital signs negative.
Number two, honestly, I'm going to put at your I want to put out your abilities for the reason that I think a lot of the times you'd be out of range specifically because of your abilities.
Yeah.
Because of your guardian angel, so that kind of feeds into it a little bit. So they're kind of interlinked in that area. So number one is the beam. Number two is the abilities. Number three is going to be your positioning. 4 is awareness. 5 is ult usage. Any questions? Any of you
No.
guys got questions?
Double kill.
I can't think of any right now. I don't have any.
Double kill.
All right.
I can't think of any either.
Sounds good. So let's start to wrap things up then. So